Alright, welcome everyone to the 2016 Dominion Strategy Championships. It is a single elimination tournament, so it is a little bit more scary. Any little mess up in any of the rounds and you're out, unlike the league where you have an opportunity to make up for perhaps a bad match or so. So on this board, there's cultists, right? That's a big deal. There's a cultist, and a lot of things went through my mind looking at this board. There's cultist, border village. You get an engine going. There's apothecary also to draw your coppers. Plus buy is there. Everything is there for the engine. You just have to deal with the ruins somehow, right? And dealing with the ruins is not easy on this board. So I think you have to go for some kind of cultist money strategy early up, and then see if you could transition at all into the engine. So 3-4 for me is better than 4-3 here, I believe, because I am going to go ahead and save, and the choice is between Cultist on turn 2 or Haggler on turn 2. And after a bit of thought, and I still wasn't sure about this, I do decide to go for the Haggler over the Cultist. My opponent has 4-3 and they go, um, oh, they have 3-4-2 as well, but opt for Horse Traders into Silver, or Silver into Horse Traders rather. So here, look, I save this copper here because I know the Haggler is in the back. Have a good chance of seeing it with a lot of coppers. Maybe I am gonna get to 6. I do get to 6, as does my opponent here with the horse traders. I did think about the horse traders. It's not a terrible card here. It will get you to 5 reliably, and it'll give you the odd trigger of the numerous cultist plays that will be incoming. So not at all terrible. And here 6 with the Haggler's border village, picking up 2 cultists. So yeah, that was worth it, I believe, in my mind. Meanwhile, my opponent has a Transmogrify, which, is a good card, especially with Border Village around. You can gain quite liberally there with the Transmogrify on the Border Village anyway. But it also has, obviously, a lot more uses. So, while my opponent has been buying silver on the $3 hands, I've been picking up saves. This is what, my third save here. Again, there is the Haggler in the back with the Border Village and a cultist, so I might be able to make the same play that I made on turn 3 or 4 or something there with the $6 hand with the Haggler. And that purchase of the Haggler, like I was concerned that if I drew Haggler with just 2 coppers, it would be awful because I didn't really want to gain any 4 cost right away. I'd much rather get cultist, but it's not bad because then you could just save the Haggler, and then on your next hand you're probably gonna get to 6. So yeah, that save is deceptively kind of strong, not just on this board, but in general. Like it could let you creep up to certain price points. Like in the opening, it let you creep from 4 to 5. That's significant. Later on, as I did here, it can let you creep from 5 to 6. That's not always significant, but here it most definitely was. I spent a bit of time agonizing here over whether to play this cultist or not. I figure the shuffle isn't terrible to trigger, and I could put one more ruins in my opponent's deck, saving this estate here. And also another use for save. I save the estate to get it out of the shuffle, so that I have a better chance of seeing something like Border Village cultists, or just have my cultists line up without having that estate getting in between them. So 8 for my opponent here and a couple buys, and I think they make the correct decision here. I say I think because the game is going to transition very quickly into a 3-pile ending on Border Village Cultists and Ruins. But they do opt for the Border Village into Cultist and a Vagrant, which I think is the right thing to do at that point in the game. Here I do manage to see my Cultists, and one thing from buying all these saves over the silvers is that the silvers don't get any way of the cultists. So now like I'm able to chain 3 in a row here. Whereas I may not have been able to do that had there been silvers in my deck. Of course the downside to that is that I have very little economy. I don't have any silvers. The only economy is through that haggler plus the coppers. And if I happen to be gifted an abandoned mine. Whereas my opponent, you see, they were able to hit 8, right? So they could get province, and Piles are now starting to look very thin, especially after this play from my opponent. The border villages are low. It goes down to 3. Cultists are already in the red, as you can see there, and the ruins are gonna just evaporate very, very quickly. So we are like suddenly looking at a 3 pile here, and you have to start thinking about the end game right away. So here I was hoping to get up to 7, but unfortunately, don't have the actions to play this abandoned mine and get me up to 8. Instead, I only have the 7. And I actually think for quite a bit on this turn as to what to do, right? So 7 isn't better than 6, so I just save the mine because I might use that more than I would use the survivors. I don't know if that's right. But 6, right? So you could go for something like Border Village and the Cultist to continue to build the engine, but that is too scary. Way too scary. Like my opponent could have a freak turn and go and get double what is this thing called? Double Border Village and gain duchies off of them and win, right? I don't want that to happen. There's also a transmogrifier on the mat, so I mean it's not unlikely for them to gain 2 border villages and perhaps empty the game if I'm not careful here, of course. If I'm not careful. So I do leave 3 border villages there. I don't think they could get 3 border villages to finish the game. I do pick up a goal instead of the border village and a cultist alongside it just for the draw. So here is a misclick from my opponent. The transmogrification of the cop out is not supposed to be that. Instead we see a border village come out, so presumably that's what they were going to transmogrify. So yeah, they had one in hand. They don't have 6 here to get the other one, but it could have happened, you don't know. And now a salvager for my opponent, which is reasonable by this point in the game. Salvaging border village is 6. You just need 2 more to get to province. Survivors here over the mine, again, because I don't want to buy the border village, I just want to buy the duchy for points. At this point, I have a points lead just off the estates, because my opponent transmogrified 1 into a silver earlier in the game, so that's a bit helpful right now because I am able to keep the 1 point advantage even after my opponent buys border village into duchy on this turn here. I was completely avoiding that border village, but my opponent goes for it, maybe trying to catch me on a bad turn here and squeeze out the border villages like that. Instead, I don't have quite a bad turn. I was hoping for 8 here again. Of course, I do see the gold, but not enough. And like I said before, 7 is not better than 6, so just going to save away the border village here, a bit of extra draw next turn, and avoiding the border villages again here, just picking up the duchy to go, 4 points ahead at this point. So a lot of border villages from my opponent here, the cultist, and the next shuffle the salvager is live, right? Horse Traders comes out, and this could be province, but I think it's just enough for a duchy at this point. Also throughout this game, quest, right? Think about quest because cultist and money is viable with quest, right? One cultist can get you a gold off the quest, so that's something to think about as well. I didn't mention that earlier in the game in the analysis, but I just saw it and remembered. Anyway, duchy for my opponent here, so now duchy could be a pile of concern here because we're halfway through those. This cultist triggers my opponent's horse traders, and I am not happy about that, but what can you do? I am happy about getting to province here. What I do go for now is the border village gaining a duchy play. I don't think my opponent can get um, 10 points here. Oh, they need more than that. They need 11 points. And in fact, um, they do come close, though. They're able to get the province here, and they can haggle the last border village into the duchy, but it doesn't win for them. It doesn't win for them because that estate difference matters. And even if the estate wasn't there, they would lose on turns, I believe. I believe my opponent had first turn here. So just going to take the duchy, and they haggle a horse traders at this point. So what's left for me to do now is to find $6, and I do so on this turn. So just going to play survivors over this cultist here. I have the actions to spare to try to get up to 6. So I do it and I do find the gold, and that is the end of game 1 here. So the game took a turn really quickly into the ending here, and save. Save could creep and get you places. Alright, thanks for watching and see you in game 2.